Can two former pound-for-pound elites get back on top? Find out next. Please like and subscribe. Please help us hit 1,000 subscribers. Welcome back to another episode of Tuesday Night Fights. We're going to take a look at two former pound-for-pound top 5-ish kind of guys and break it down and talk about whether or not they can get back to that elite level. First off, Keith Thurman was the present and the future of the welterweight division and maybe even the face of American boxing, right? After beating Showtime's Shawn Porter and Danny Garcia in consecutive fights, he had unified two of the belts at 147, the money division, and he looked to be primed for stardom. That fight with Garcia was on in front of 4 million viewers. Made a lot of money for that fight, and he's been on maternity leave for a year and a half since then, right? Hasn't faked a bunch of injuries, got married and stuff, and went on some vacations, but he hasn't got anywhere near a ring due to those fake injuries and stuff. Second, Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. Chocolatito looked primed to surpass the 49-0 or 15-0 or whatever, and it was going to cruise right past that. He was in the top 5 of everyone's pound-for-pound list, as high as number 1 on the list of many guys. Can he get back? Well, we'll chop all that up and break that all down. Let's start with Keith Thurman, though. Alright, so Keith Runtime Thurman hasn't fought in what's going on almost 2 years now. It's been a year and a half, and he still hasn't inked anything. There really aren't even any rumors. There's been some names, Chocolatito Lopez, Andre Berto, but nothing serious. So that October date, certainly not going to happen, right? Because it's almost September now. And a fight like that, they would require a full camp. So that fight's out. So we'll see about him fighting on the undercard in December of Mikey Garcia with Errol Spence. However, Showtime is talking about making that for the beginning of next year. So that would put Thurman out for the remainder of the year, which would mean by the time he gets back, it would be 2 full years just about. If he does ever get back. Is this really what Keith Thurman has become, though? An undercard fighter? For real. I mean, he's fighting an undercard if he ever fights again. He's been out of the ring now for a year and a half. There's no prospects. He doesn't want to fight Jesse Vargas. He doesn't really want to seem like he wants to fight Chocolatito Lopez either. So what is it for him? So much for the position of power he claimed to be in last year, right? Remember last year he said he had 2 belts. The other champs only had 1, so he was in a position of power. Well, he's got 1 belt left, and I want to give a word of advice to the World Boxing Association, right? The WBA. Why hasn't Keith Thurman been stripped yet? You need to mandate that Keith Thurman, the super champ, fight Manny Pacquiao, the world champ, immediately. Mandate that this year. If he refuses, strip him. He last fought a year and a half ago against Garcia, which was a unification fight, right? So he didn't even fight anyone ranked by the WBA. He hasn't made any type of mandatory challenge at all. He hasn't fought anyone. He literally, I don't mean he fights bums. I mean he doesn't fight. He fights less than Gary Russell Jr. does. Mandate the fight with Pacquiao, strip him, or strip him. The IBF, which does things right, by the way, would have stripped him a year and a half ago. For real. This is absurd. He still gets to call himself a world champ, but he never fights, right? I mean, who does this? Right? Either retire or give up your belts. Like WBC stripped him a while ago. This WBA just wants to call everyone a champion. I guess it's just about collecting sanctioning fees or whatever, but you're not collecting any sanctioning fees from Keith Thurman because he doesn't fight. So, really, World Boxing Association, if you're listening, mandate he fight Manny Pacquiao by the end of this year. He's got to fight Pacquiao by December. If he doesn't do it, if he doesn't agree to it, strip him. And if Pacquiao doesn't agree to it, strip Pacquiao. Well, having all these champions is ridiculous. Make them fight each other. In addition to that, the welterweight division is getting really interesting. So obviously there's 3 fights. He's already beaten Garcia, Danny Swift Garcia, and Showtime's Shawn Porter. Very narrow decisions. We scored both of them for Keith Thurman. I'm not trying to hate on Keith. If you know me, I've never hated on Keith's skill set. A year and a half off of inactivity. Can he get back to that level? With all this, he's fought twice in 3 years. And those 2 times with Garcia and Porter. and that's it. He's going to want a tune-up. I mean, so we're moving on here, and he's not staying active. He's not taking challenges. Can he get back to that level? It's got to be a question of motivation that keeps him out of the ring. No one's buying the fake injuries, right? We all laughed at Sean Porter's dad when he said that Keith Thurman faked the car accident. I mean, maybe Porter. Maybe Ken Porter wasn't lying. Maybe there was something there, because this is becoming a trend now with Keith Thurman. We've gone over this. The American orthopedic surgeons said that the surgery he had for removal of loose bones takes a couple of weeks to get your full range of motion back. Sometimes it's as short as days, and he's been out a year with that injury. It's silly and ridiculous to think that that's what kept him out for a year. No, he kept himself out, and then all of a sudden he has a hand injury. He has a hand injury that pushes back his May date, which was just about 8 weeks out, no opponent named, and no tickets on sale. So that fight wasn't going to happen either. He's had no plans on fighting. So, this is a question of motivation. He just doesn't want to fight, which is fine. Just retire then, right? There's, we dropped him from our pound-for-pound list, but he still somehow has a belt, so we kept him in our welterweight rankings because, he still has a belt. But it's time for Keith Thurman to have to take action or take his belt from him. You can't say, I've missed a year and a half because I had a surgery that takes 2 weeks to recover from. No one's buying that, right? He said in October he'd be back, last October of 2017, almost a full year ago, that he'd be back in January. Well, it's almost September and he's still not back. And he's not fighting in October. We both know that. He said this was his get-back year. He's going to fight 3 times this year. He may not fight at all this year, let's be real. And that's a sad state of affairs. And if he gets back, can he get back to his highest of levels, right? Because it took 100% of Keith Thurman to beat Garcia and to beat Porter, right? Both those fights were really competitive and very close. So they were really competitive fights. Keith Thurman had to be his best. If he can't get back to 100%, if he can only get back to 90 and 95%, is that enough to beat those guys? I don't think it's enough to beat Porter. Honestly, if Porter and Thurman fought April of next year, I'd pick Porter. Garcia, I thought he beat Garcia. I had an 8 rounds to 4 on the fight. The Porter fight 7-5 for Thurman. I had the Garcia fight 8-4 in favor of Thurman. I thought Thurman beat him convincingly. I know some people disagree with me. Some people had Garcia winning. I guess there were some close rounds. I guess, but I still think Thurman could probably beat Garcia just stylistically. But I don't know. It's like you can't take that much time off, be that unmotivated, that disinterested in boxing, and say, I'm going to get back to 100%. And then there's the other names. If you go back a year ago, I'd have picked Keith Thurman to beat Errol Spence. I said he has the legs to avoid him, and he has the power to keep Spence from just walking in, right? He's a better athlete, he's got legs, he can move around, and he can, not that he would beat Spence, but he could, right? And if they fought, it's pretty even, but I would have given him the experience, and this is a year ago, I would have given him the experience and a slight edge. I would have gone slightly towards Thurman to beat Spence. Not anymore. So Thurman's completely shook. He wants nothing to do with Errol Spence. He wants nothing to do with anyone. Just his mind's not right. So if you're going to go in and face a dog like Errol Spence, you better be 100% mentally and physically, right? And Keith Thurman is maybe 100% physical. Physically, he might be 100%. He's recovered well from all his fake injuries. He's done with maternity leave. He could be back 100%, but mentally, Errol Spence has that boy shook. He wants nothing to do. He basically quit boxing not to fight Errol Spence. And, it's a shame because if his mind is right, his skill set is so that, not that he would definitely beat him, but he could. He really could. Keith Thurman is a highly skilled, highly athletic fighter with excellent punching power. Now, I don't know if it's one-time puncher. Everyone, he doesn't seem to knock out the elite fighters, but his power is good at least. He had Porter hurt. Garcia was never really hurt, but obviously his power is good, and his athleticism and his skill set, his legs, his footwork, everything with Thurman is good. And obviously, Crawford's a different level. I don't know how he had any chance to beat Crawford. There's no noticeable advantage he'd have over Crawford. I don't even know that he'd be bigger than Crawford, right? I mean, maybe, but Crawford looked pretty big, at 47. That was the only question that we had, and certainly strong. I would say that Crawford would be physically stronger. So there's no advantage. I think Crawford, and that's no disrespect to Keith Thurman. I just think Crawford's in a different level right now. I think Crawford's at a level that Floyd Mayweather was in his prime. I just think he's better than everybody else. The other interesting one I want to talk about Keith Thurman with is Manny Pacquiao. This would be a real interesting fight. How much left? How much is left in Pacquiao's gas tank? Can he go to that well one more time? Because if he could, this would be a real entertaining fight. I don't think Keith Thurman is an excellent defensive fighter as much as he relies on his athleticism and his movement, right? Like, if you can get to him, like Porter showed, if you get to him, you can hit him. If you can get on the inside, you can hit him. He wouldn't have an athletic advantage over Manny Pacquiao. So, I would lean towards Pacquiao in that fight. Let me know what you think, because that's going to be controversial. I don't think any of the other ones I said are controversial, but I would lean towards Pacquiao being able to beat Keith Thurman. Let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts, comments below. But right now, if Keith Thurman went back into the welterweight division, I'd still pick him to beat Danny, and I'd pick him to lose to Showtime Sean Porter in a rematch. I'd pick him to lose to Spence. Obviously, I'd pick him to lose to Crawford, and I'd pick him to lose to Pacquiao. So the guy that said he was in the power position, the position of power, less than a year ago, I have him now. I think the top four guys in the division would beat him, in all seriousness. So let me know what you think about Keith Thurman. Which one of those guys do you think he beat? Do you think all those guys would beat him? Do you think he could beat any of those guys? All of those guys? If you think he could beat Bud Crawford, you need to go get your head checked, because that's not even close. There's no advantage that Thurman would have over Terrence Crawford. But let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts, comments below. Roman Gonzalez, Chocolatito, he was as high as #1 on many pound-for-pound lists. He was never that high. I don't think he ever got higher than 5. Maybe he got the 4 an hour list. I thought he got hit way too often to be considered #1 pound for pound. So I know he won, 4? 105, 108, 4 different weight classes. But he had really good wins. So it was the eye test. I looked at Gonzalez and said, okay, he's an offensive fighter. Really good offensive fighter, good power. He does everything well offensively. But defensively, there's not much movement. There's not a lot of head movement. He gets hit way too much. He's beatable. So I never had him that high on my list. But he had wins over Valora, Estrada, Kudras, and at 112. I don't know if you guys remember this fight. He beat Akira Yagashi, which I thought was his best win ever. And that was at 112 pounds. I want you guys to keep that in mind, the flyweight division. I think that weight, that's the weight, 112, he should be fighting at flyweight. The guys at 115 right now, 115 is like 154. The guys there are real big and real powerful. You look at the size of the guys at 115, and they're bigger than his Chocolatito, right? I mean, that was evidence when he fought Rungvisai both times. And like I said, Chocolatito is not very good defensively. He might be below average. He really gets hit a lot. And when he was getting hit by a guy who was bigger and stronger, who could punch like Rungvisai, it was over. 112 is where it's at for Chocolatito. He's fighting Fuentes at 112. It'll be good to see him back there where he's not at such a size disadvantage. 112 is not as loaded as 115. The top guy is at 112. There's his countryman, Christoph Rosales, who holds the WBC. And then there's a bunch of youngish, undefeated, mostly inexperienced at the top level guys like Andrew Superstar Selby and Kosai Tanaka, who will fight for the WBO belt and should capture that in September. And then there's a Ukrainian fighter called Artem Dalekane. Again, these are guys you'd probably favor. We don't know about these guys yet at the top level. We'll find out more Tanaka soon. But these are guys that I would pick, pending on how he looks against Fuentes in his next fight out, which is on the Triple G Canelo undercard. I would favor him to win all these fights. Gonzalez, the WBC champ, is the one I'm going to hold judgment on. But the other younger guys, they're all 23, 24 years old, 25 maybe. They have 10, 12, 13 fights apiece. They're all undefeated. I'd pick him to beat all those guys. I like Andrew Superstar Shelby. He has no power. And he likes to get in exchanges. So that would be a disaster for him. The other guy, Tanaka, and the Ukrainian, we don't know much about them at a high level. So, again, just on experience alone, I'd pick Chocolatito Gonzalez. I mean, Gonzalez is a pro. He's a really good offensive fighter. I figure he'd break those guys down and beat them with ring IQ and experience. But if he's going to get back, to that superstar level, let's start with Dalakan, with the Ukrainian. He should be able to get that belt off of him, rebuild himself, and maybe and just go from there. Again, we don't know much about the Japanese guys. They haven't really been tested. They haven't fought in America, so we're going to hold judgment on them. But again, if I had to favor someone, I'd favor Chocolatito based on experience and what we do know. So get the WBA off the Ukrainian and build from there. But this Flores fight should show us quite a bit. Again, he should win. If he doesn't, well, then we know he's done. But if he looks good, looks like he's back, I think he should stay at 112, and I think he can recapture a world title at 112. I don't think he should ever go back to 115. Him going to 115 was like Oscar De La Hoya going to 160. Bad decision. Don't do that. Don't go. You're not. Oscar was never a middleweight, and Chocolatito was never a superfly. He's not that big. He started at 105, and 112 is it sounds like 3 pounds, not that much, but those guys were huge 115 pounders. I mean, Rungvisai looks like a featherweight. He's big. His legs and everything, he's like tree trunks. Chocolatito should never have been in with those guys. So let's see how he can do if he can dominate at 112. It's not as crowded. A lot of those guys will probably outgrow the division. If he can stay there, he's still young enough where he can have a few more years there. Let us know what you think. Will Chocolatito bounce back? He'll be on the Triple G Canelo undercard. Leave your thoughts, comments below. Let us know what you think. Again, please like and subscribe. We need your help now more than ever. If you like what you hear, if you hate what you hear, you want to trash us, please feel free to do that. Just please hit the like and subscribe button. For Tuesday night fights, this is 3D Boxing signing off. Thank you, and God bless.
Enjoy 3D Boxing vlog videos? Show us some love by clicking the like button. Don't miss a tweet, post, story, or video. 3dboxingvlog.com is also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hit the subscribe button now to stay inside the ring.